The attack, unfortunately, on Israel also continues from three fronts. But there is some commentary that is happening on the side, which sometimes makes you wonder, what exactly are people's priorities? At a time when Israel has lost 1,300 of its citizens, when they are coping with what can only be called a second Holocaust, there are some people who have engaged in a mindless and frankly inhumane debate on were the 40 Israeli babies really beheaded? Were 40 beheaded or just 4? Were they beheaded at all, or were they shot? Or was some other method used to execute these little children? It started with a Belarusian reporter of I-24 saying that an Israeli defense officer told her that he had seen babies killed and decapitated. This claim, by the way, was repeated by multiple reporters of multiple news outlets who had been given access to the Kfar Aza kibbutz. Then, a day later, the reporter reiterated that she hadn't personally seen the bodies, but had been told so by a soldier. The result? The predictable vultures swooped in to claim that this was fake news and it was being spread about the murder of children. Now, here's the thing. First of all, this information has now officially been confirmed by not one, but multiple spokespersons and officers and soldiers of the Israeli Defense Forces. On record. The second point is, should it even matter? What is the point of this entire debate of how children are being killed, except to remember and reiterate that children were killed and children were snatched from their parents, sometimes families were killed and members were made to watch the execution. So what is the intent of this entire debate and fact check, except perhaps to whitewash the brutality of the Hamas? Before we go any further, just to set the record straight, listen in to members of the Israel Defense Force, including its spokesperson, Jonathan Conricus.
And we got very, very disturbing reports of that came from the ground that there were babies that had been beheaded. And I admit it took us some time to really understand and to verify that report. And it was hard to believe that even Hamas could perform such a barbaric act. But after eyewitnesses came forward and after a senior official in the Israeli coronary service, Zaka, came forward on record on CBS News and said, yes, I saw the bodies of beheaded babies, I think we can now say with relative confidence that this is unfortunately what happened in Be'eri. This is what Hamas did to Israeli civilians.
We walk door after door. We kill a lot of the terrorists. We are stronger than them. They are aggressive. They are very bad. They cut head of children, cut head of women. But we are stronger than them.
But for those who are more worried about how exactly the crime was committed rather than the extent of the crime, here is how hapless children became victims at the hands of the Hamas. And all of this happened on camera. Mind you, the Hamas is not even trying to cover up or deny what they did. Remember, it is they who decided to film the atrocities on men, women and children and put it out there, because this was not just about attacking Israel to take away some land or some resistance. This was about terrorizing a population by coming into their houses and killing their people and reminding them that this is what we are capable of. A 10-year-old boy, Erez Calderon, was filmed being dragged by his arm by Hamas gunmen. He was snatched from his family in Kibbutz Be'eri and was dragged across the border into Gaza. Even today, his family is looking for him. There are multiple accounts today of family members who are in shock. They can't even imagine what they have seen, things that no human being should even have to hear of in their lifetime, leave alone to be subjected to it. Now imagine, for these people to be told that their grief, their suffering, their anger is nothing more than propaganda and supposedly fake news. Think about it. On this day, the entire world has accepted that Israel has been attacked and it has a right to self-defense. The entire world agrees that Israel has been put through unimaginable torture. If there is anyone today who is fact-checking the misery of Israelis as propaganda, then it's the Hamas and a certain section of other people. Think about why. What really is it that they intend to achieve?
They just said, "We found Emily. She's dead." And I went, "Yes!" I went, "Yes," and smiled. Because that is the best news of the possibilities that I knew. That was the best possibility that I was hoping for. She was either dead or in Gaza. And if you know anything about what they do to people in Gaza, that is worse than death. That is worse than death. The way they treat you. They'd have no food, they'd have no water. She'd be in a dark room filled with Christ knows how many people, and terrified every minute, hour, day, and possible years to come. So death was a blessing, an absolute blessing.